What's up, it's George the Fragrance Apprentice here. So I did my 10 10s with designer fragrances, but it was a little bit different, as in it was fragrances that I do believe are 10 out of 10s, but I don't maybe mention them as much as I nearly should. So I got inspired to do that with the niche selection. And this one was actually somewhat easier. There are quite a few fragrances in my niche collection where I've thought to myself, you know, I really need to talk about this, and I just sort of don't. But these are all 10 out of 10 fragrances. These are all fragrances that I really, really should talk more about. And here I am, I'm going to. So let's start with number one. Let's get this one out of the way. This is my legendary, awe-inspiring 250ml bottle of MITZAH. This is amazing. It smells like a retirement home, to be honest. It smells like your grandma's flat that she rents out, or little home. It's very spicy, it's very old, but I love it. When I wear this, I do feel as though I've suddenly aged about 50 years, but there's something about it that I've always loved, and it is based on MITZAH, she was Christian Dior's confidant, actually. She was his best friend at one point and got him through a lot of hard times, a lot of difficulties, and this is the fragrance that is supposed to represent her. And then they discontinued it. They discontinued Christian Dior's BFF. Okay, number two from the House of Imaginary Authors, this is City on Fire. There's a reason why I haven't talked about this, because I was going to save it for a very special video called 7 Fragrances Made of Smoke and Fire, and it's going to be quite a cinematic ordeal, and it just wasn't able to happen, and then lockdown happened, and then it really couldn't happen, and so I felt a little bit bad because I was given this by request for free, because I wanted to do the video and I wanted to include this because it's one of the best fragrances that's ever been inspired by, you know, smoke and fire. It's incredible, and so I'm sorry that I haven't been able to do that video, but here it is. It's amazing. It's something that when you spray it on, it smells like a burnt match, and that is pretty bloody wild, but as it dries down and you've got this nice little cade oil thing and labdanum and dark berries, this becomes delicious. It becomes actually really, really quite enticing and very, very enjoyable to wear, and strangely it can get me some nice compliments and some good attention. So it's very unusual in that way, just a masterpiece of fire, the fire and smoke genre. So yeah, totally a 10 out of 10. Number 3 is from the House of MASQUE Milano. I do talk about this on and off. This is Tango. I call it Tango Unchained. Similar kind of thing of MITZAH. When I put this on, I do feel as though I have aged quite considerably, but it's really quite something bizarre and quite something else. This is a very, very artsy niche fragrance. This is a trip of a scent, and the thing that I'm starting to realise that this reminds me of is it gives me a bit of a mulled wine vibe, a bit of a mulled wine scent, and that is something that's very interesting and very pleasurable to wear, especially around about the colder months. It's I did a little indie spotlight on this, but my thoughts have evolved because there's a lot to work with a fragrance like this. This is not a straightforward scent. This is a novel of a fragrance, so it's something that definitely is up there in quality, and certainly a 10 out of 10. Number 4, NASSOMATO's DURO. I'm thinking of doing a scent story with this very soon. I've had lots of conflicting ideas and emotions about this, because when we first got this introduced into the fragcom and into the YouTube fragcom, it was considered a bad boy, and, you know, like a leather jacket, motorbike wearing, you know, bad boy kind of character. I don't get that anymore. I actually get a very melancholy and very somber sadness with DURO. It's something that is very emotional, just a very emotional fragrance, and I would love to really explore that in one of my more elaborate videos. So it is absolutely a 10 out of 10 in the way of it's just a very prophetic and incredible niche fragrance. It really showcased where niche was going at the time with these kind of more story-based fragrances. It's incredible. Number 5, City Love DUETO. Now this was in 2017. I think it was on my autumn list. This is something that gets left to the wayside a little bit because it's a It's a very straightforward oud and rose fragrance that's a little bit synthetic, and like, who cares, right? It's been done before. But there is a nice bit of fruit, and there's like raspberry, strawberry, there's like a candy element, there's like a nice sweet element in here that I've always admired, and it is so strong. All of the Duetto's incredibly strong fragrances. Their performance longevity is just always off the charts. So if you like oud and rose, but you also want a youthful version of it, and you want something that's not as skanky, not as hard laboured, and you want something that has quite a bit of sweetness and actually a little bit of raspberry, a little bit of strawberry, I would recommend checking out City Love. Absolute 10 out of 10. Next one, this is absolutely, truly a work of art, a 10 out of 10. This is Rose Barbare by the House of Guerlain. Wow. I mean, I think that it's... I do love the La Matière line, almost in its entirety, you know, Tonka Imperial, Spirituis du Blivini especially. But this one really is something that is so underrated, but yet so perfect. This is by the good gentleman, the fragrant genius, Francis Kurkdjian. I think that this was his only fragrance for the Guerlain Matière line, but I didn't think he could do rose, and I didn't think he could do rose so well. I'm not really a rose fan, but yet this is so inviting in the way that it's all balanced. It's got that perfect Francis Kurkdjian balancing act that he does, and when he's on, he really is on, and he's amazing. And I think it's probably one of his most underrated fragrances that he's ever composed, but it's a 10 out of 10, as you can see. Next we have AMBRASER by JUS. This really is a 10 out of 10 that I need to speak about so much more. It's one of the most it's like an experimental aquatic marine fragrance, or it's an experimental woody aquatic. That's the best way that I could put it. That is the group of this, and it's really quite something special. Think kind of like Versace Eau Fraiche. This is kind of like a niche reboot of Versace Eau Fraiche. Absolutely incredible. So quite something. Next up we have this one. I would often reference this fragrance. It got lost a while ago in a storage unit, but throughout the years I've made reference to this fragrance, and I really do love this fragrance. It's from the house of Andy Tauer's TAUERVILLE. It's Vanilla Flash. What's so good about this, and why I consider it to be a 10 out of 10, is because I think it was ahead of the curve, because it's got this like vanilla, but with sand, like it's like sandpaper, vanilla and sandpaper, and so it smells like an art room, or a room where like construction work's been done, or paintings, or things like that. And I've smelt this kind of combination proliferated throughout a lot of niche fragrances, a lot of designer fragrances that came after this. And so I don't think that it was inspired by this. This was a good release, but not a huge release. But Andy Tauer knew what he was doing, and he knew where vanilla combinations were going. So absolutely incredible. Next one is this Dignified by House of SILIAGE. I have mentioned this 2 times, I think. This is a really dirty, formal suit and tie vet of a fragrance. Really, really brazen and quite harsh. It's something that's amazing, and it really smells like a boss, a king, all of those connotations. Really, really strong, and performance is amazing. Definitely got to get a review out of this from House of SILIAGE. I think it's their best work personally. Other people like number 1, number 3, and all that kind of stuff. This one is... yeah, it's really something else. And so we get to number 10. And of course, Chris tagged me for the designer one. I presume he did the niche one as well. So we go to Chris, basically, because this is a 10 out of 10 fragrance that I recently got. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Can totally see the love for it, can totally see the appreciation for it. I've started to wear it as well, and I really, really do get it, although I do prefer another from this line, but this is from the house of ROJA Dove. It's Enigma. It is the Parfum Cologne variation of it, but I prefer these to the actual fragrances, because these just, I don't know, these really resonate with me. But Enigma, or Creation E, is really something that's amazing. It's got this, the cola thing that Chris talks about, but I also get like cola with hazelnut. In fact, it's more like a cashew nut. There's like a nuttiness that's around it. So you've got that. and the cola vibe, and it's very, very sophisticated, very, very amazing, and typical ROJA quality. So yeah, this is an easy 10 out of 10. All of them are very easy 10 out of 10s. And there you have it. Those are 10 out of 10 niche fragrances that I don't really talk about as much, but again, like I did with the designer list, speaking about them right now has inspired me to move forward and mention them and maybe review a handful of them in the future. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm the Fragrance Prez. I will see you soon, and I'm out.